Good evening to you all. Welcome to another webinar episode presented by 99X. Today, I was privileged enough to come up with another webinar episode on behalf of 99X. Before start things off, let me give you a brief introduction of myself. I am Yasanka Jayawardena. I currently work as a tech lead in 99X. So I have more than 6 years of industry experience, and throughout my career I was given the opportunity to work with GDPR compliance with web-based products. With my experience, I thought of share my experience with you. Therefore, I choose this topic called privacy by design. So in the next 30 to 40 minutes, I'll be talking about the design principle called privacy by design. So the outline of the webinar episode today is I'll talk about the history of privacy by design and 7 principles of privacy by design, as well as and I will be talking about the advantages of following privacy by design. So let's start our presentation. Let's talk about history of privacy by design. Before digging into history of privacy by design, I thought to give an insight of a couple of keywords that are being used in data privacy field, as well as GDPR and privacy by design principles. The first one is data privacy. The data privacy means ability of individuals to control their personal information. That means individual user. Like, since we are from technical backgrounds, individuals means the data entities, the users. So the end user should have the ability to control whether to capture the data, not to capture the data, delete their data. Likewise, they should have the control how their personal information is being manipulated. The second one is PII, personal identifiable information. So in GDPR compliance, this is the focus area of the entire regulation, to make sure the personal identifiable information is not vulnerable. Such PII basically means data that can be referred to identify a person, or at least to come up with a clue that who should be this person is. As an example, we can name name couple of PII information are name, SSN, account number, MAC address, cookie IDs. Because cookie ID is also, even it is not a direct relationship, it can be used to derive the personal identification. The next thing is GDPR. It is a regulation put out by the European Union to mandate the data protection and privacy in European Union, as well as European Economic Area. You know, if any product or company violates GDPR regulations, for minor violations, the fine is either 10 million or 4% of the annual income, annual revenue, or for a major violation, it's 20 million euros or 4% of the annual revenue, whichever is higher. FYP. FYP means fair information practices. Means whatever the practices that we put in place to make sure the information gathered are put in safe. The last one is ISO 27701. This is the standard presented by International Standard Organization to comply with the data is protected by a system. So having this certification in hand by an organization for a product means that they consider user data privacy, and they are complying with the international standard. Now, let's dig into the history of privacy by design. Though privacy by design is taught parallelly with GDPR, many of many of them have a misconception that the privacy by design is a sub-derived topic of GDPR. It's not the case. GDPR came into the picture in 2018, and it was came to the discussion in 2016. But privacy by design principle was developed by Dr. Anne Kevorkian in 1995 when she was working as the Information and Privacy Commissioner for Ontario. So she collaborated with Dutch Data Protection Authority and Netherlands Organization for Applied Scientific Research. And initially, it was designed as a reference framework to preserve privacy in application design. And so this is where the misconception occurs, as privacy by design is recommended by GDPR. It is not implemented by GDPR, but it is a recommendation given by GDPR. But we should not make misguided saying that we comply with GDPR if we implement privacy by design or vice versa. So this is the original paper presented by Dr. Anne Kevorkian, so which explains the 7 foundational principles of privacy by design. Let's dig into 7 principles of privacy by design. The very first one is proactive, not reactive. The second one is privacy as default. The third one is privacy embedded into design. The fourth one is full functionality. The fifth one is end-to-end security. The sixth one is visibility and transparency. And 7, and the last one is respect for user privacy. Let's start with the first point, which is proactive, not reactive. So this is to make sure to take preventive precautions, not remedial ones. Because as you, since we all are from technical backgrounds, we are aware that how companies get destroyed because of data breaches, how their business practices got exposed due to data breaches and security vulnerabilities. So even like no matter how hard we try to come up with remedies, the damage cannot be irrecoverable. In sometimes, if a data breach or a security breach compromises our business model, our data, because our reputation, the company's reputation is on the line. The proactive this concept is to anticipate and privacy invasive events before they happen, which means we have to accept that there is a vulnerability. There can be vulnerabilities. So we need to make sure that we have taken all the precautions to make sure that nothing will happen in terms of data privacy. This principle recognizes the value and the benefits of proactively adopting strong privacy practices early and consistently. That's what the importance of this principle, early and consistently. So with this, there are 3 points that we have to focus on. The first one is a clear commitment. A clear commitment means to set and enforce high standards of privacy, generally higher than the standards set out by global laws and regulation. Here, what is mentioned is to follow globally or generally accepted standards as the bare minimum. And we should not depend on the bare minimum. We should go above and beyond the bare minimum, as always. The second commitment that we have to make sure to commit with a proactive, not reactive approach is a privacy commitment, which means demonstrably share throughout by user communities and stakeholders in a culture of continuous improvements, which means like uh, even with the end user, not our client, but with the end users as the company who, as the organization who implement the software, we should demonstrably share what are the steps that we have taken to make sure that your data, your business's data is being protected up to the maximum standards put out in the industry. And the third commitment is established method. This is to recognize poor privacy design, anticipate poor privacy practices and outcomes, and correct any negative impacts in a proactive way. The previous point also discussed, like we should continuously improve. In order to continuously improve, we should identify what we are lacking and what are our poor practices. So we have to establish some mechanisms to identify what are our poor privacy designs, what are our product vulnerabilities. So let it be automation or third party evaluation. Likewise, we have to put out well defined and established methods to identify what are our uh, 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 poor design choice. The second point is privacy as default, because it is considered default rules. You know, users don't want to interact with a software product as much as we want, right? So they want to get the job done with minimal clickers. So they tend to, as a general pattern of a human, they tend to ignore the detail. They just want to get the job done. So that's why we have to ensure personal data are automatically protected in any given system automatically. So without user doing things specifically, their data should be protected. So I hope all of you join to this webinar by filling a form. So this is a screenshot of the form shared by our organization. You know, we can see 3 checkboxes here unchecked, right? So this is what privacy as default in practice, because you know, if they are checked, means user given the consent to notify our future webinar information, send reminders about webinar series, and to agree with our terms and conditions, right? But as you have seen, as it is shown in this screenshot, you see like all the checkboxes are unchecked. Because if user clicks submit button, like user can't submit the form without clicking on these required checkboxes, and therefore in terms of privacy, user is given the choice. So we don't play the cards in a tricky manner so that the user do not get the full picture. And you can see all the checkboxes are in unchecked by default. So user has to go and click them explicitly. And even if user wants to have more information, what are 99x terms and conditions, there's a link to go and refer the privacy policy as well. So there are fair information practices that we have to follow if we are practicing privacy as the default configuration. The first one is purpose specification. Purpose specification is to list down the purposes for which personal information is collected, used, retained, and disclosed, and they should be communicated clearly to the individual user. In data privacy term, we call it the individual as the data subject. In the previous slide, yeah, here we have a link to view the privacy policy. So that means that we have followed the purpose specification guideline that is given by Privacy by Design to preserve the privacy as the default configuration. So the user get to know what are the information that will be gathered by this application. So what is the purpose of doing so? The second point is collection limitation. So this discusses that collecting such data is fair, lawful, and limited to that which is necessary for the specified purposes. So in our privacy document, if you have time, go and refer to it. We have clearly mentioned, so these are the information that we are gathering from you, and for these purposes only that we are using it, right? And if we decide to do it for any other purposes, that we have to clearly mention it then and there. And it is not the practice. It is a clear violation for GDPR if we do something other than mentioned in the purpose specification. The third point is the data minimization, which means to keep the collection of personally identifiable information should be kept to a strict minimum. We should not be irresponsible when it comes to collect user information. As you can like in the previous example that we've discussed, we don't take unnecessary information from the user, like date of birth, place of birth. Likewise, we don't need that to get our communication channel up and running, right? The reason we collect your data is to share the links and share, if you have consented, to share our upcoming webinar series information with you. There's nothing other than that. So in that case, we need to identify what are the data that I need to collect from the user into a strict minimum. And the last point is use, retention, and disclosure limitations, which means the use, retention, and disclosure of personal information shall be limited to the relevant purposes identified to the individual for which he or she has consented, right? So we user like when we as we can assume that when user agrees with the with our data policy, user has given the consent. So it is unlawful to do whatever the things that is not mentioned in our privacy policy with the data shared by the user. So we have to make sure to set up retention limitation, usage limitation, and disclosure limitation in order to be abide by the law as well. The third point is privacy embedded into design. So this is to make sure privacy is a critical component of the information system that we are developing. It should not be a patch that we implement later in the project cycle and patch it to the information system, whatever the software product. So that at the end of the day, privacy becomes a core functionality of the system. As an example, let's say we are making a module, a statistic module, to track down user interactions, user logins and logouts, right? So and we do not if we do not consider privacy in the earlier design of our logic, so that we do not consider anonymization or pseudonymization of the data. But later on, if that requirement comes up, it's quite difficult, and it might need to rewrite the entire module from the beginning to facilitate the pseudonymization or anonymization requirement comes from the regulation or from the user. It is said that privacy must be embedded into technologies, operations, and information architectures in a holistic, integrative, and creative manner. Not only into the code, but whatever the technologies that we use and the business operation that we follow, as well as the information architectures and infrastructure that we use, we have to have this balance. Holistic means we have to look into the big picture, right? Like as developers, we tend to miss that. Like we tend to we tend to focus on only development, right? But to comply with embedding privacy into the design, we need to follow a holistic approach. We need to consider all the system limitations, what are the functionalities. Likewise, we need to incorporate all the things in order to make sure that the privacy is embedded into the design. And it should be an integrative approach, which means all stakeholders and interested parties should be consulted. And like there was this application implemented by a company. So their user is their end users are the employees. The business is to go to places and perform their job. Let it be a handyman job. Likewise, they need to punch in and punch out, so their location is captured, right? So the business decided to not to consult the employees. They hired a software company and came up with the solution, but their union was against it. They weren't happy about capturing the location. So they argued that their entire location is might get captured because the application is installed into their mobile device. Likewise, they weren't happy about capturing the live location. So therefore they had to extend the deadline and go back and forth because of the conflict arise, as the end users weren't taken into account in the earliest design decision making. And the third part is this approach has to be creative. Why is that? Because like we know that we work mostly with existing implementation and existing choices that has been already made, right? But there's a high chance if we are to embed privacy into our design, the existing implementation is not acceptable. So we have to think to make sure the cost and the time limits are abided by our approach. Therefore, we have to be somewhat creative to come up with design decisions in order to make sure that privacy is treated as a core functionality of the system. The fourth one is full functionality, not the positive sum. As a positive sum approach, not as a zero sum. A positive sum approach occurs when resources are somehow increased and approach is formulated in which the desired and needs of all concerned are satisfied. So if a positive sum approach is taken, no trade-offs are made, no sacrifices are made, all the requirements are satisfied. But in a zero-sum approach, basically it means one person's gain is equivalent to another person's loss. So to reach the end goal, sacrifices, trade-offs has to be made. And this considered as the most difficult principle to adhere out of the 7 principles described by the privacy by design. Because like in real world, we are working with a budget, we are working with a time constraint, right? So of course, we have to make some trade-offs, some sacrifices to meet all the requirements satisfied. And we need to monetize whatever the product that we implement. In order to get that done, sometimes we give more importance to the core functionalities, identified features, rather than complying with privacy standards, right? So of course, in practical scenarios, this is what happened. Whatever, rather than a positive sum approach, like in practice, mostly happens the zero sum approach. We make trade-offs, we make sacrifices to meet the deadlines, to meet the cost. But it should not be the case. That's why it is considered as the most difficult principle to adhere out of the 7 principles explained by in privacy by design principles. The 5th one is end-to-end security. This is to taking strong security measures throughout the life cycle of the information involved. The life cycle basically means data gathering, data processing, and data disposal, right? So the end-to-end security means like from the decision that we taken to capture the data and to destroy, to dispose whatever the captured information from A to Z, security should be paramount. As I said earlier, life cycle is from information collection to data processing to data disposal. And again, whatever we have gathered from the user should be securely retained. Whatever the technology that we use to keep the data in our end should be treated with the utmost security, and we should destroy them secure manner as well. No trailing should be there. And there should not be gaps with the protection or accountability, right? We should be like we can't say to the clients, our end user, that like there's a third party attack or third party vulnerability or library vulnerability or something like that. So we are the one who decided to keep the data, and we are the one who should be accountable for whatever happened to that data. So there are 2 points that we have to discuss under protection or accountability. First thing is security. Entities must assume the responsibility for the security of personal information consistent with recognized standards. Let it be use on the authentication, putting up several necessary firewalls. Likewise, there are some recognized standards that we have to follow to make sure that we have taken necessary security measures. And we as the developers, hosting parties. Likewise, there are some entities to run business. Likewise, the business entities should assume the responsibility for the security of this gathered personal information. The second point is applied security standards. It is to assure assure confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data throughout the life cycle. So which means we like when we transport the data from end user to our server, we have to follow necessary data encryption, and we have to follow strong access controls to our file systems or to our databases. Likewise, we have to follow utmost secure standards. So that's what are applied security standards means. Let it be OAuth 2 with authentication, firewalls with server protection, encryption mechanism with the data transport. Likewise, we have to apply accepted security standards in our implementation to make sure the data is not get vulnerable. So this is a big picture of data life cycle. So we start with data collection. Like we have to decide how we are going to collect the data, right? Let it be voluntary data collection. So as we've done with you to join our webinar, so we shared a form with you. So you voluntarily shared your data with us. So either we can use data scraping, and we can use third-party data providers as well. If you are working with a machine learning project, so there are third-party data providers that we consult, that we buy data sets from, and we need to classify what are the things that we are going to capture. Is it sensitive personal information, or is it routine personal information? Is it finance information? Likewise, we need to classify what we are going to do, and we need to decide what are the things that we are going to do with this data. Is it to process data? It is to come up with statistics? It is to advertise our products? Likewise, we need to make sure what are the things that we are going to do with whatever the data collected, and we need to decide what are the things that we are going to do with the data when it comes to sharing. So whom we are going to share this data with. So are we going to pass this data to a third-party application? So likewise, if we are to do that, we have to put agreements in place. And if something happens after sharing the data with the third-party application, who is going to take the accountability? So if we are complying with the GDPR product, we can only share that data with another GDPR compliant product. Likewise, we need to set boundaries when it comes to sharing the data. The third one is, the next one is archive, because we have to keep the data to perform our business actions, like let it be statistic generation or ad generation. Likewise, we need to keep the data, and we need to decide how long we are going to keep the data and why we need to keep that data that long. Likewise, we need to put definite reasons and definite timelines and definite mechanism to archive the data. The last point is destroying the data, which means we can either we can pseudonymize the data. So if user ask us to ask us their data should be removed from the system, but we need some of the data to operate. In that case, we can pseudonymize or anonymize the data, so that that data point can't be directed to the relevant data subject. So we can use pseudonymize, anonymize, accepted in the ISO standards, or either we can support with physical destruction of the data as well. So the data row will be deleted from the database or whatever. The sixth point is visibility and transparent. So which means we have to make sure the data is operated according to the stated promises. We can do something other than what we promised, right? We defined a purpose specification, and we can't do anything other than whatever specified in that purpose specification. And our application, our design decisions, likewise, our technology stack, they should be able to be independently verifiable. If a client comes and asks us, your product needs to be verified by a third party or an auditing firm, likewise, they should be able to do that. So that's why visibility and transparency is simply called as keep it open, and it 100% depending on the trust, because trust, once it is broken, there's no way of repairing that. So there are three fair information principles, practices explained under visibility and transparency. The first one is accountability, which is who will be taken who will take the accountability of the collected data, who is the responsible parties, and what are the things that they have they would do in an event of data breach. Likewise, the accountability should be expressed with relevant stakeholders. And openness is basically the key to accountability, right? So in accountability, we shared like who is going to take the accountability, what are the things that they are doing to make sure the data is treated with privacy standards, and in case of a data vulnerability, event of data breach, what are the things that they would do to make sure the impact is minimum. Likewise, so we are being open there, right? So so that openness basically means to share the information about the policies, practices, and management decisions. Likewise, what are the things that we have make sure they should be readily available to individuals. Compliance means we have to put mechanism to receive complaints given by the end users, and we have to have mechanisms put in place to redress them, right? And we need to put in place the necessary communication channels. Likewise, we have to take extra steps to be compliant with the end user, so that their concerns are heard, and they are make sure that they are satisfied with the accountability taken by us. The last point is respect for user privacy. It is to keep it user-centric. So likewise, we have to make sure what are the end user knows, for what are the information that we have gathered, right? So and what are the purposes that we are gathering that information. And if you ever submit an application for App Store or a Google Play Store, there's a form, there's a questionnaire that we have to fill. What are the privacy information that we are gathering, and why we need to do that, right? So this seventh point is supported by the following fair information practices. They are not limited but supported. Like, in order to make sure that we respecting users' privacy, we should not limit it to these 4 practices, but it's the bare minimum. Again, it's the bare minimum to satisfy these 4 fair information practices. First is consent. Again, we need to make sure we need to track down the user given the consent. And we need to maintain the accuracy, right? Like if we are collecting users' personal information, and they are to identify a person, right? So that data should not inaccurate. The accuracy should be guaranteed, and user should have access to that data, right? And user has the uh, uh, right to access to that data. Likewise, again, the compliance need to be there to make sure users' complaints are tracked down and they are getting redressed. So here you can see two images. The left side one is privacy checkup, so that users can go. This is provided by Facebook. Like this is something that is there. We can go to that portal and we can look into what are the data tracked by Facebook, what are the data shared by Facebook to third-party vendors. And this is the right side one is the app privacy report, which is available in iPhones. We can go to this, we can refer to this, and we can select an app. We can see what are the data is being tracked. So what are the data is being tracked? What are the data linked to you? Likewise, what are the things that is being captured? They are transparent. So they are like the user has the privilege, user has the right, user has the ability to make sure these are the information that is being gathered. Now we are done with the 7 principles. Let's dig into what are the advantages of following privacy by design. The first one is GDPR compliance. I need to make sure that following privacy by design is not a guaranteed way of GDPR compliance, right? GDPR, like under GDPR compliance, it is just a guideline. So there are so many well-defined compliances that we have to adhere to make sure our product is GDPR compliant. The second part is makes data protection in the organization stronger, so the data breaches are less likely. So again, privacy by design is a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach. And no matter how hard, no matter how we spend to come up with remedies after a data breach, like they can be sometimes useless as we throw the company reputation under the bus, right? So like the company reputation, loss of the company reputation, the data breaches always can be narrowed down to a monetary loss as well, right? And the third point is customer satisfaction. And if we follow these privacy by design principle, the customer, and if we made sure that the customer is aware with the precautions and the practices that we follow, they are quite satisfied with their product. They are made sure that they have our vendor, our software developer organization, development organization takes necessary precaution to make sure the privacy is preserved. And it is a good way of future proofing the business. There is no way that a client comes up and say that I need to make my product vulnerable, right? So I need my product to be breached by a third-party hacker. That's not the case. It's the other way around. They want to have strict privacy policies in their product, right? So if we take precautionary actions, if we put in place such a privacy compliances even before the client asks us to do. So it's make sure that the business is future proof. And so we know that cybersecurity threats change constantly and fast, right? Even huge organizations like find it difficult to defend themselves with cybersecurity threats, right? If we take precautions before things happen, before things being asked, so like we are quite in the safe side, right? So that our product is uh, generate implemented in a uh, privacy conscious product. So that's about the webinar. So in today's topic, I've talked about privacy by design. Under that, I've briefly described the history of privacy by design and the 7 principles of privacy by design, as well as advantage of following privacy by design. And now it is your time to shine. You can shoot me out with your questions. I'll try my best to answer them to clear your doubts. Okay, since we weren't raised with any questions, we can wrap this up. Thank you very much for joining with the webinar. So it means a lot, not only as the organization, as an individual for me. It's really encouraging for you people joining with these webinars. As an organization, we try to come up with useful and relevant topics with the development community. In order to be, in order to keep in touch with us, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel, which this is been live stream, and you can go through already hosted webinars as well. Thank you again for joining with the webinar today, and hope to see you with another webinar episode as well. Till then, stay safe. Bye.